Hello, everybody. This is John Marola from Keeping It Real, Section 5 Football. This is our 8th episode, and we are just moving right along. And today's guest is from our chapter, what would it be?
Our CCFO.
CCFO chapter, Pete McCabe. Yeah, he's going to give us some insight as far as referees and have a nice conversation about that. On my far right, back in his seat, Section 5 Hall of Famer Paul Burgandy with us back. And before we start, I would like to just, for everybody that's new out there, just go in, hit the subscribe, hit the bell, and the like. And like we said before, that would do us a great help. It makes our channel grow, keeps us going, and we just want it to grow and get better in Section 5. Paul, you ready?
I'm ready to start. My first question to ask Pete is, how does Pete McCabe get involved with officiating, and how long you've been doing it, and how did this all start?
Well, it started, I was looking for a second job in 1987.
Wow.
And started doing softball and flag football for Amateur Sports Park. Got into a little bit of baseball in the 90s, but I couldn't call balls and strikes because my knees hurt so bad. My last game was 90-something degrees outside at Rush Henrietta, and I had to do the plate for 2 games. I was done. Then after that, I was looking to get into Section 5 sports, probably in the middle 90s. My job didn't like some of the hours I had to do some of the games, so found a thing for the RCCFO, went to a meeting, and didn't make it the first year. Went back to second year thanks to John Schwartz, and from 1999 I've been doing Section 5 football.
Oh, fantastic. Glad to have you
thanks for
aboard
having
today.
us.
And you mentioned John Schwartz. Who are your mentors in officiating that helped you along the way when you were first starting, and even to this day?
I've got a ton of them. I'm going to probably leave some out, but I got to start with Frank Marafino. He was the assigner. He's the one that really gave me my first chance at refereeing, white hatting, as we would say. Also gave me a lot of things to work on. He would watch my games and say, look, you need to do this, this, and this. Other than that, Tim Arden was a really big help to me because I always wanted to referee. And Tim Arden's mechanics were flawless, and I got to watch him a lot, got to work with him a lot, and he used to help me a lot. Mark Remillard was really good. Mm-hmm. He was the mayor of Rochester. Yep. He probably taught me more how to handle coaches, how to talk to coaches. He was really just out there, and he was really good. Ronnie Camp, I worked in the state first regional game with him. I'm very excitable. I get very nervous before games, and he keeps me grounded. After that, I got Brett Kuchme. Mm-hmm. I worked with Brett a lot. We talked before and after every game, and he did an awful lot for me, helping me with my confidence. But those are the main guys, that my mentors that brought me through. I've got a lot of guys, though. I probably left many out that have helped me down the road.
Well, that's so important for any new official getting involved in the sport. That they're going to need guidance, and they're going to be in a lot of different situations, and they need people to help them out along the way. On that, tell our listeners, how do you become an official? Somebody who wants to be one, where do they sign up? What goes into the training? Where would they start? How that works out at working at some of the younger levels, working your way up to JV, then to varsity, and what is basically the probation period once you get started?
Well, our website is rccfo.com. Also, you can reach out to me. My email is peter.mccabe@echo.com. I field a lot of things. Kathy Hoyt also has a thing through Section 5 where we get a list every month of people that have reached out to the Section 5 website to become an official. It's something, when I first started, it was hard for me to get on to see where the meetings were. You just couldn't find them. I tried to get into basketball for a long time. I'm glad they didn't get me, but that's beside the point. But to try to find where the meetings are and what you have to do to get involved is really hard to get people. Once you come in, we have, for football, 8 meetings. You have to attend 6. They usually start the last week in July on Mondays from 6:30 to 8. We also have some meetings on Wednesday that for first, second, and third year people that will get them the basics of football. Um, the biggest thing with football is the expense of the uniform. It's probably anywhere from $500 to $600 for all the uniform things you have to buy. You also have to become fingerprinted. You get that money back. And then once you start, you get a mentor program we call Big Brothers. We set you up with an experienced official, and he will work with you during the season.
Okay, and again, when someone gets certified as an official, what's the progression? Where would they start working? At what levels, and how long of a period is it before they will move to the next?
Yeah, we have three different progression levels. You come in, you're a candidate. Basically, you'll work JV, modified, and youth games. Your second year, you become an associate. That is, same deal. We do have some associates that will work varsity games depending on how they come along. How you advance, last program would be senior associate, and those guys definitely get varsity games, and that's another level where you actually start training with the experienced officials. Then once you're a senior associate, you become an active, and then an active, you can do all the games you want. As they move up, we look at how many games they do, the ratings that the officials give each other, how they work, and we move them right along. And if they work hard and pass the test, they can get the varsity in 3 years.
3 years.
Wow.
The earliest, would that be the earliest they would?
That would be the earliest.
Once you started?
Yeah. I mean, I have guys that their first year have been doing varsity football games at a lower level because we really need the officials.
Interesting. Well, I want to get into any of the new rule changes that will go into effect for 2024. Any new points of emphasis that they're coming down the chute with? And
I have not seen rule changes for this year yet. We'll get those in June, but the point of emphasis that's been big the last few years is sportsmanship. We can recruit, but we can't retain. And the problem is the stuff that goes on the sideline. It's not so much at the varsity level, but the JV modified and especially youth are real problems, not only on the sidelines, but also in the crowd. They're also big thing is eye black underneath the eyes. Kids come out with all sorts of stuff on their face. They can only have one thing underneath their eyes. Another thing going to be is uniforms. They're making them more, white and dark. That's the thing there. But as far as actual rule changes, I'll know in June what we're going to have coming up next year.
You bring up just the equipment and the uniforms, and I remember, one of the things the officials would always say to us as a head coach is, all your players properly equipped. And then, our response as a coach was, to the best of my knowledge, they are. But, you see at different levels. I mean, I watch some of these college games, it look like they're playing in short pants, and it trickles down to kids will try to get away or look as much like.
What you're talking about is a huge problem in high school football. I mean, that's one thing from last year. We were told to get the knees covered before the game. But after that, I let it go. I mean, a kid playing high school football that's got his pants up over his knees, he's going to get hurt. I mean, and, these players, the D1 and the pros, you see them up there. For whatever advantage, they take a helmet to the knee. That's a big problem. And when I ask a coach if he's properly equipped, or are all your players properly equipped, I don't take that anymore. It's got to be yes.
We always the coaches have their answers to the questions, and we go round and round. But yes. With that,
Before you go, I want to just go back a little bit with Frank, because I've known Frank for just years and years and years. Actually, nobody really knows this either. He saved my life. For real. I was coaching a modified basketball, and we were at Irondequoit, and he was one of the officials. And this is back in 1984. And anyways, I'm coaching the game, called a timeout. I fell on the floor, went into a seizure. And from that point on, I didn't know anything. But Frank was the one that called 911, got everybody there, he emptied the gym out, and everything turned out took me a little bit to get back on my feet, but from that. But anyways, the one story I have with and I have a ton of them, but the one really good one is before the games he would go up to the players and tap them on the back. Hey, have a good game, have a good game, have a good game. And then after a while, I asked Frank, why are you tapping on? You tapped every time my team, have a good game. He goes, between me and you, I was checking to make sure that they had their tail pads. So I was like, okay, whatever. I mean, that's a part of his job, and but he's just one. He was great when he was on our games. He was just a great guy to have around.
He is more respected than anybody I've ever seen. I mean, everybody knows him. He's still involved doing clocks for Section 5, and I have him assigning the clocks. I mean, the guy loves it. I'm the assigner now. He was doing it for many, many years. He trained me how to do it. There's nobody like Frank. Nobody more dedicated than Frank, and nobody that loves Section 5 sports, especially football, than Frank Marafino.
Yep.
There's one guy that I left out when I was talking about that. It's Rick Hamlin.
Oh, yeah.
Rick Hamlin knows the rules better than anybody else. He's doing rules and tape in Big Ten right now, and he's riding on Bill Schuster. Bill Schuster would not be where he's at today without Rick Hamlin. Trust me when I tell you that. Billy, you'll agree with me on that. Rick does an awful lot of stuff behind the scenes for Section 5 football right now. Coaches have problems with huddle tape, they go to Rick, and Rick is really good at explaining to coaches whether we screwed up or not.
Okay.
Well, and you mentioned Billy Schuster, Jim Eckel.
Jimmy Eckel,
another Rochester official.
I mean, Rochester's got a ton of really good officials, and I've had the pleasure of working with some of them. I worked a youth game with Bill Schuster one time, and he was an NFL official. We were short down in Livonia. He asked me to come, and me and him worked the game. That was unbelievable. Mark Klaczynski, who's a white hat in the Big Ten, one of the best. He gets bowl games every year. I worked his first game with him. He came up through the RCCFO. Another guy, B.J. Henry, who's Bill Henry's son, he worked the Ohio State Notre Dame game this year, and he worked the semifinals in the national championship game. And then, of course, Jim Eckel. He's worked a couple national championship games. The guys in the Rochester group that I have come up through are tremendous officials. They really are. We've learned from the best. Rick Hamlin, Frank Marafino, Tim Martin, Mark Remillard. Those guys are the best, and I'm sure I've left a few out.
You mentioned Mark Remillard, and this was a great story. I'd heard about him. You talk about diffusing sometimes the sideline when the coach is getting into it with the official. And this is a story what Werner Kleeman mentioned, where Werner was upset with a call or a no call, and he's yelling at Mark Remillard. Mark comes over and he's listening to him, and then Mark bends down, and Mark ties Werner's shoes together and then walks away. And Werner's still yelling, and it looks like my shoes are off. And they laughed, and it diffused the situation.
Let me tell you a Remillard story. I was doing a Fairport-Pittsburgh game at St. John Fisher. The place was packed. It was a Saturday night, and I was the back judge. And it was a close game. You had Pittsburgh, Fairport hate each other. Oh, no, they don't. But anyways, Mullenix coaching Pittsburgh, and somebody threw a red towel on the field, and Remillard picked it up and says, "Is that your challenge flag?" Mullenix goes, "I don't own anything red in my house."
That's great.
That is good.
You know what I wanted to ask you now, and actually last week we had Dave Marine on, and Dave is the boys coach at Wayne, but he's now also the girls flag football coach at Hilton. And are you guys officiating the girls games, and how different is that?
Okay, well, Dave is a great guy. He does the New York some elite thing at full sports every year. We work those games. He's very involved in it. Great coach, great guy. Flag football is growing like the weeds. There's 31 teams right now, and then there's 2 teams that are playing scrimmages that'll have teams next year. And when this takes off in Livingston County, you're going to have every school playing flag football. Our officials are doing the games. There's 3 guys in every game. We're trying to recruit women, but unfortunately we had one that backed out at the end. But they're doing the games, and I'm going to tell you, the coaches are very intense on this. And, they're playing for a state championship this year.
Right
3 sectional championships. The girl runner from Section 5, Jen, does a really nice job. I'm the assigner. I do boys lacrosse, so that's where I'm doing it most of the time. But I am certified to do it, but I'm only going to fill in if they need me.
Is to be a girls flag football official, is that a different certification that they would need, or is it all under the same umbrella, or how does?
It started 2 years ago. We now have to take a test. We have to attend 3 meetings. They've been doing them Zoom. And then we have our coaches meeting, just like we have for football. For football.
Okay, okay. We had, and we had talked earlier, and I know, Johnny, you can probably talk a little bit about this. When, we traveled to Ohio, and you've been to a lot of the Ohio State championships and some of the playoff games, and just the use of instant replay in the state of Ohio, how that has, been promoted and how they use it, and where is it in as far as our state?
And all of the Ohio high school, as soon as they get into their state playoffs, they use instant replay, and I believe it's a lot like the challenges. I think they get 2 a game per team, and if they're not successful, it's a timeout. It's kind of along the same lines as the colleges, but I'll tell you something. It really because there's so much media around games these days. Even up here with us, with Section 5, having varsity media at most of all our games, it's bringing that aspect out. And I think it's just going to make, in my opinion, it's going to make the game better. What is your thinking?
I'm going to tell you, I was involved in a sectional game this year where I wish we had it. They have enough stuff on the sidelines where I feel they can do it. Now, whether Scott or the state's going to agree with that, I doubt it. But as officials, we want to get the call right. And I know there was one game played this year on a Saturday that the winning 2-point conversion came down, and the media blew it up with, the kid's foot was on the line. And I'm sorry, as a 5-man crew, where our official was, he was where he was supposed to be. That's a tough play. That's a tough angle to get. And when you got so many players around you, but there's so much. We get all our game tapes, so we can go back on a Wednesday after the game and watch our game, and we can see where our mistakes were. Also, the coaches do send plays in. It's called the coaches' plays every week, where they send things they question, and we just want to get it right. Our college and the pros get to fix their mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, and we're not as talented as the college and the pros. Most of us have jobs, full-time jobs, so we're working all day. We come to do the game, and we have our training, but we're not at the level of college and pros. So we're going to make mistakes. No official, and I don't care what level is, has ever done a perfect game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I tell coaches now, stripes aren't perfect, and I know that they're going to see my call afterwards. So I'll go to them, hey, look, you're going to see it, but this is what I got.
Yeah.
And if you think I'm wrong, reach out to me after the game. And rarely I don't hear much back.
Yeah,
I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not perfect.
Well, and you bring up the mistakes, and a lot of the mistakes are people up in the stands, even some of the coaches that don't understand the difference between the high school rules, college rules, professional rules. The 2 feet in, 1 foot in. Different, and they get all excited, but that's not the rule at the high school level.
I mean, most of your varsity coaches know the rules. I mean, they really do. It's your assistants that don't. Your JV and modified coaches do not know the rules, and the youth is becoming a huge problem. And, once the coaches start screaming on the sideline, it spills onto the field and spills up into the crowd. And that's where things get a little heated. And what I'll do during a game is I'll bring the coach out to the numbers, just me and the head coach. Okay, we'll have our discussion. He can blow off steam to me or whatever he wants to do, but we need to move on from there. Mm-hmm. And because you can't sit back, because once one thing happens, it'll fall forward and it become very ugly.
You bring up a great point, and we've heard that sometimes where you've had assistants chirping at an official, and this is for all basically coaching staffs and assistant coaches. The official wants to talk to the head coach. That's the one that he will speak with, and doesn't care to hear some of the comments that are coming from other coaches.
Yeah, there's times though I want to talk to the assistants. I'll give you an example. It wasn't football, but I had a lacrosse game over the weekend between Aquinas and McCabe, and Aquinas coach didn't like a call. he thought the penalty should have been longer. I went up to the assistant coach and I told him, look, he's upset, but here's why I called it. Here's what I need done. Because lots of times your assistant coaches will fix the problem for you. The head coach has so much going on, in Monroe County football, let's look at it. How many coaches are on the sideline? I mean, a lot of, Aquinas, McCabe have 8, 9, 10 coaches.
Yeah.
And I want to tell, if I got a lineman that's holding, I want to go up to the offensive line coach and say, hey, guy, talk to 71, get his hands in, or whatever. I mean, he's getting a little out of control. And he will fix that generally. Head coach, he's got a lot going on. Now, if I have a rule problem and something that's really bad in the game, that's when I'll bring the coach out to me. Here's what I got, and I want to talk to him straight up.
Great.
What my thinking with, as far as like the instant replays, when we played football back in the day, it was, we were like bees more or less. Everything was like here. Now the kids are bigger, stronger, faster, very fast, and the field is wide open. So as far as covering a game as an official, I mean, your world, I mean, you're from sideline to sideline now, and you're looking 40, 50 yards down the field, where back when we played, it was basically in between the hashes.
Yeah, the thing about it is like we all have our zones, okay? And wider's better. So the official that's closest to the play doesn't always see it because you're close. You just don't get that angle. And the wider you are, the better it is. Okay, so everybody's got their zones, and when we get in trouble when we ball watch, you got to watch off the ball. That's really hard for a newer official to learn.
Yeah, that is.
I wanted to ask you, Pete, about the evaluation of officials and how is it done. I know there's coaches rating, readings. And you may have your own self evaluation where other officials are there observing. And how does that work? And then how are officials selected to work sectional games, to work Western regionals, the New York State championships? How does our area officials move to those level games?
To become an active, you're rated by the federal officials. We have to fill out an evaluation on them, and that's how they move up. Now, getting to the varsity games, we are rated by the head coaches. It used to be 1 to 5. I changed it to 1 to 10. And if they have less than 5, they have to give me a comment. My big thing with the coaches is I want to hear from you if you have a problem with an official. I want to hear from you if you have a good official that did a good job. I want communication between, as the assigner, I want to know who's doing a good job. If I have an official that had a problem with XYZ team, I go on and watch the huddle game, and I watch whether it's legit or not. Let's face it, football is a very emotional game, coached by human beings. So you're really emotional. When I see a rating go in on a Saturday morning, giving an official a 1 out of 10 for one of the reasons, I know that coach is rating on emotions. Okay, and the ratings by the head coaches are very, very important because we don't have that many games, and how I select, or how Section 5 is, because I'm now employed by Section 5, how we're going to select the guys for postseason is done by ratings.
How do you determine? I mean, is this a choice by officials, a preference of someone who wants to be an umpire, who's a side judge or back judge, or is that do when they go through this training, do they learn all the positions?
Yeah,
and then how do they specialize and want to go?
Well, we teach them on a wing, and that's probably the hardest position on a varsity football field because you got to deal with coaches behind you, and a lot of these guys don't know how to talk to coaches because they're new. Let's face it, you're mad at me, all right? That guy on the sideline is just like this now, and when I first started, I was really nervous. Now it's easier because I'm in the middle of the field, but you work the side, and then as you get into it, you come to the assigner or myself and say, I want to learn how to referee. Okay, so then we'll work into the referee, or I want a back judge. Okay, the position I don't do is umpire. Okay, I'm too small to do that, and you really need to be like a lineman when you're playing football to know what you're going to do in the middle. And to me, as a referee, the umpire is the most important position on the field because he's got to call the holding, right? Because if he's not calling holding, then I got to look for holding before it comes back to the quarterback, and now I missed a hit on the quarterback.
Yep.
Another tough position is back judge. Back judge has to run. Okay, so he starts in the middle of the field, 22 yards behind the line of scrimmage. he's got to get to the sideline to help me. Because when the stuff that gets hit out of bounds, that's a crazy call in football. As soon as they're on the sideline, they're looking for that hit out of bounds. I mean, it's really important for that wing guy and the back judge to be there, because if he's not getting there now as a referee, I have to. You talked about ratings and how we get out postseason. I look at the ratings and I take a lot of opinions from coaches. Okay, what you get in a McCabe game and you get in a Bolivar game are two different things. Bolivar is the southern part of Monroe County or Livingston County. It's great football down there. I love to go down there. Okay, the games are all just run, basically. I don't want to take anything away from it. But you get to a McCabe game against whoever they're playing, or Aquinas, or Hilton, or Pittsford, or Fairport, those coaches can rate tough. Okay, and I get a printout of how the coaches rate the officials, and I look at it. Okay, boom. There's obviously like a Dave Cohen who gets a 10 on every game. They all want Dave.
Yep,
okay,
yep.
So I take that into consideration, and that hurts a lot of other guys. But David's very good at what he does. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's the top-rated official. But then I looked at the other guys and how I'm going to give them chances to work sectional finals and beyond that. So when it comes down to picking the first round, it's easy. Second round gets a little tougher. Now the sectional finals, I look at what the coaches rated the guys all year, and the guys have really done good, in my opinion, that can handle the games. So sectional final, if there are CCFO teams, which are our teams, we get 5 guys. If they're a Finger Lakes team, now we get the mixed crew. I mean, if it's our CCFO team, we get 3. Out in Finger Lakes, they get 2. So there again, too, I have to make a big decision on sectional finals. To me, it isn't the guys that get the games. It's the guys that don't get the games. Yep. I probably have 45 guys that could do sectional finals, but now I get to pick 30. So I get a lot of problems. Now what I've done the last few years is guys who work sectional finals now get a regional game. They don't work, they get a regional game. So we go to Buffalo, 12 guys from Section 5 get picked. We come to Rochester, 13. Now Finger Lakes gets 4 on either side. We get the balance. So Bill Henry will pick the Finger Lakes guys. I will pick the regionals. Semifinals and finals now, Rick Hamlin will come to me and say, here's the positions you're going to fill in the state finals and the state semifinals. Generally, we get a whole crew in the state semifinals. There again, too, I put our best officials. I mean, once we get to the state level, I have to put the guys that I know and that can handle the games. And then some of the guys that think they are ready, in my opinion, may not be, but I'll reach out to them. Hey, look, you got to get better. Get in the rule book, watch your tape. How can you become better? Mm-hmm. And it takes time. I mean, it took me a long time to get where I'm at. But I'm going to be 69 years old this year, so we got a lot of guys aging out.
Yeah. What I wanted to ask you too, and this goes back to the training period for your officials. You have 8-man football now.
Yep.
And I'm curious how many officials work an 8-man game. Some of the obviously the officials have to know the rules, the field dimensions. It's a different ballgame.
We have 5 officials on 8-man. To me, 8-man is training. Okay, that's when I assign, I look at the 11-man first. Now we're going to have independents. They'll get second, and coaches don't take that the wrong way. Then the 8-man. We've got a very good 8-man program out in Pembroke. They've won 2 state championships.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you that they would probably won the Class D in the states. That's how good they were. They had this kid, number 5. Phenomenal running back. Phenomenal running back.
His statistics were amazing.
And I did one of their games, and I went to the coach after the game. They won by 40 points. I says, you guys are really good, but your team is even better people. At number 5, I said, I tell you, he's the best player in New York State in 8-man. But I tell you what, he's the most congenial kid on the field.
Wow.
And 8-man football, they play a 100-yard field, like 40 wide, and it's 8 people. And we're going to have an 8-man state championship this year in the Carrier Dome. So that's going to give an opportunity for some of my guys to work another state final. But 8-man football, it's for the teams that just don't have enough kids. Bolivar had 14 kids on their team this year. They're going to be lucky to be fielded in a varsity team. Finney, from what I understand, is going to go up to 11-man this year, play independent. Mm-hmm. Joe Marchand, great guy. What he does with that program is unbelievable. But then you've got Wellsville and Red Jacket and Calmum, they're merging with Leroy. They were playing 8-man. But it's for kids that would normally wouldn't be able to play 11 a.m. football, and it's fantastic the way it's run on Section 5.
Oh, great. It's curious. So, there's a lot of avenues that if you get into officiating, whether you're officiating the girls' flag, the 8-man, the regular high school games, you can go. There's a lot of games being played, and
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you something. I've been doing football for 26 years now. It is the most fun I've ever had. There's nothing like going out there on a Friday night, and I don't care where it is. I mean, Letchworth, Leroy, Helmholtz, Livonia. Teams in the Southern Tier, the whole town turns out. And I'm going to tell you, some of the Southern Tier games have more people at them than some of the Monroe County games. You'd be amazed. And, it's just so much fun, and it's electric. It really is.
Do your officials organization, you do the modified in the section? Do you do like the Pop Warner and the Vince Lombardi, those type leagues too, or is that something?
They have Pop Warner, which is handled by another organization, but there's a Monroe County Youth League, and there's a Livingston County Youth League. We do those too. They play three games in Monroe County, and down in Livingston they play 2. It's really training for our newer officials, and it's watching these kids play football. It's amazing to watch them grow up. I've seen so many kids starting youth football and come up, and I work every Sunday in Livingston County. And what I've done, and I want to bring this up, is I've got 2 kids that are doing youth football. One's 14 and one's 16. One plays modified football at Avon, the other one plays varsity football at Avon. And I got them to work with me during the season this year. And this is our next recruiting tool as far as I'm concerned. They do a good job in lacrosse with this. You get kids from high school that are seniors and juniors. Come on, work Sunday, work 3 games of youth football, make $250.
Wow.
On a Sunday. It's better than working at McDonald's.
Yeah.
And you know what? You get out there and learn a little bit better. We had a kid from Avon playing varsity, and I think he learned more about football officiating this year, and it really showed on the field when he started to play.
Oh.
Do you do anything as far as the recruitment of officials through even the local colleges? Finding some of the college students that may be interested in getting into that.
Yeah, Rick Hamlin tried to do the college thing. We've gone to all the colleges. It just doesn't work. I mean, the biggest problem is, like I brought up before, it costs a lot of money to start roughing football. I mean, basketball, you buy a shirt, a whistle, and pants, and that's it. Football, you got to buy flags, you got to buy this, you got to buy that. It's very expensive. And, for whatever reason, we cannot recruit young people. That's the problem. And I'm going to tell you, 5 years from now, it's going to be a huge problem in football in Section 5. Huge problem. We do not have any young people. And the other problem I'll bring up, so is college. Division III is struggling getting college officials.
Really?
Okay, so anybody that's good in high school that wants to go to college, and I've lost 3 or 4 really good guys to the college ranks to become Division III with opportunities to go farther. But one thing, if they do college, they come back on Friday night and do high school, they become so much of a better official by learning the college game. It's amazing what I've seen different guys, how good they've gotten.
Do you have many guys in your organization that are doing dual, that are doing both college and?
Yeah, probably got about 20 guys.
20 guys.
20 guys. Wow. Most of them will work Friday night, and what I do with them, I have them work their college position, and on Friday night high school, and then I work them close to their home. So because they have to be to the others, if they have to go to St. Lawrence, they got to be up there for a noon game at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
So you're doing a high school game, and I know how I feel after a varsity high school football game. I struggle on Saturday. I don't know how these guys do it.
Yeah.
Well, the last one I have for you is, what would you like to see? Any improvements? Any things that you would recommend that would help the game of football, both from the officiating, from the coaching, from just the schematics of the field?
From where I stand, I would love instant replay. I mean, just won a game. I mean, I can tell you stories where I've guessed on calls. I don't know, and so now I got to make a call. I just can't say, guys, I don't know. I can't do that. I got to come up and sell a call. I mean, that's really important. Playing more games on Thursday, playing more games on Saturday.
Yep.
I mean, Friday night, I get it, but we just don't have the quality to put the amount of guys we need on the games. it's really important. The other thing is coaches learn the rules. I mean, George Giordano's getting my rule books. He wants to do a few things, and George, come on, I'm willing to help. Get the coaches to a round table, and we'll sit down and go over rules. Because, like you brought up before, there are a ton of rule differences between pros and high school.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it's high school's trying to change with a holding call, and that's another call I can't stand. I hear holding in my sleep. And the more what coaches don't understand, the more you complain about it, the less I call.
Exactly.
And holding is an advantage game. Amen. End of story.
And I think with coaches too, the coaches that are watching right now, it's important. And I learned this as a young coach. You're gotta win. And then after you start doing this for a while, Paul and I, 37 years of it, um, you start to know the officials, and you know what? They're doing a job. I'm doing a job. We're all here together. It's for the benefit of the kids, and let's just work. I mean, I've had so much fun later in my coaching with like Frank and those people. It was just it makes you happy.
Yeah. I mean, the coaches in Double A and A really, your Canandaiguas, your McQuaid's, your Aquinas', your Pittsford's, your Fairport's, your Hilton especially. I mean, Richie Lapani is fantastic. I mean, he wins. That's what Jerry Donnell said. He just wins.
Yeah.
And you know what? To do a Hilton game, they're going to play hard.
Mm-hmm.
But, those coaches really have their act together, and they know the game. And you brought up before the younger coaches. I mean, Rob Randolph from Nazareth Lacrosse, I listened to him talk one time, and he said, coaches, you want to get a bigger job, just pretend the camera's on you. And how do you look when you're screaming at an official?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's one thing to handle yourself like the Double A teams in Monroe County, every one of them. Every one of those coaches know how to handle themselves. Joe Montesano, I mean, every one of them. They're professional guys. They know what they're doing. But now you get the JV and modified games. Those are the reasons why we're not retaining officials, because they're going out, and youth is awful in Monroe County, right? They're going out there getting screamed at, and they're going, what am I out here doing this for?
Yep.
And you know what? Varsity coaches, you got to get your modified coaches and JVs under control, because those are the young guys. 3 or 4 guys on the field are not going to see everything.
And the more that coaches understand that is, hey, we're all in this together. Even the officials, when you're on the field, you're working with an official. It's not you against the official.
I mean, I don't care who wins the game. I could care less. I don't even look at the scoreboard. The only time, the tougher games are the blowouts when they're 40, 50-point games.
Yeah.
Those are really tough. In a really close game, hey, look, these kids are going to remember these games as seniors for the rest of their lives. Let's not make a joke of it. I mean, there's no call I'm going to change on a field. If I miss a call, and I'm not perfect, if I miss that holding penalty that just opened up that hole for that kid, I can't change it. I missed it.
Yeah.
You're going to watch it on tape. Oh, Pete McCabe screwed that up. Okay, well, I cost you the game. I didn't do it on purpose.
You're a human being, like everybody else.
I didn't do it on purpose.
That's one of my things too. And we are getting a little into this now. I just want to let people know, hey, if you're interested in being an official, like I said, you can just call. We have a new number here for our podcast. It is the number you can call is 585-484-7734, and that'll come right to my cell phone for Keeping It Real Section 5 football. Anybody that's interested, please give it a call. This is like a part that we're talking about, is about making Section 5 bigger and better, and these are one of the things that we do. Right now, I'm just going to go through a couple of what we got going on in the next couple of weeks. Like we've said at the beginning of this is the beginning of April for us, and this episode will be out next Wednesday. We're trying to stay on that Wednesday schedule so everybody knows too. It's every other Wednesday, so this will be out on next Wednesday. Tomorrow, since we didn't have school, we have the start of our rivals, and we're going to start it off with Dave Neiman from Aquinas and Bobby Bates from McCabe.
Newman's from Canandaigua.
Yes, I know. He used to live like 2 blocks away from me. Now he lives out. I don't even know if he's in 585 district anymore. So having him and Bobby Bates here tomorrow is definitely there. I mean, Dave and I, we've known each other. I know since high school we've known each other. So.
That was Dave's college coach at Rockford State.
Yeah, so there's gonna be a lot of chatting going on for that. Then after that, we are gonna have Coach Monticelli from Calmon and Jim Lemline from Leroy in, and they'll be talking about the Leroy Calmon rivalry and what that is. And it, I have my mixed feelings. Like I've said before, my dad's from Calmon, my mom's from Leroy. I've been to a ton of Calmon Leroy games, and it's just going to be interesting to see how that all comes about with Calmon and Leroy now. So that'll be interesting. Having Mike here and Jim will be definitely interesting. And then after that, the week after that, we're going to have on actually one of the biggest coaches I know, the guy that I admired when I was a kid, is Coach Quinn from ER.
Quinn.
Yep, and from Fairport, it will be Dave Lanning. And another thing along those lines is my father coached with Santini 27 years out of Fairport, so I've been to my share of ER Fairport
Brown
games.
Jug games.
Yep. And the Aquinas thing, going back to Aquinas, I played at Aquinas. So there's a lot of stuff and a lot of talking.
And you know that Dave Lanning played for Don Quinn
Yes,
at East Rochester.
Yeah, so there's a lot of resemblances there. I just want to say thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. I hope people out there got a little something out of this. If you could take one thing out of this and put it in your brain and just let it be there. So say you're a fan and you're going out to watch a game. Hey, we're all people, you know?
And Pete, could you give one more time your contact? And again, if someone is interested in getting into officiating, what the website would be and a number that they could contact.
rccfo.com, or call me on my cell, 585-329-5843, or you can go through Kathy Hoyt's office, section 5.org, I think it is.
Great.
That's great. That's awesome. Okay, now we really didn't talk about this before, but I've got to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
And for Paul.
Thank you.
Now, when we close right now, I'll say 1, 2, 3, and then we're just going to look up and say, keep it real, Section 5 football. Okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Keep it real, Section 5 football.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
That was great.